All is love is all love is all is love is all.
Hello and welcome to Pray Love. Thank you for joining us this evening. And we are just a little bit behind this evening because there was a little bit changed in behind the scenes on me today and I missed it. So here we are now. We come to you every Tuesday night on Facebook. I'm Deb Maybury. This is Dave Rogers and we have a guest sitting in behind. There we go. That looks much nicer. Dave, do you want to open up the show with our land blessing, please?
Certainly. Thank you. We'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties, is within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon, Wampun Agreement. Mother Earth, Father Universe, all of our enlightened beings, friends, and family. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for a conversation from our heart to connect and to celebrate our wonderful April month, 2021. Thank you, Deb.
Thanks, Dave. Oh, got a little feedback here. Thanks, everybody, so much for joining us this evening. We have a return guest, but in a different capacity. We're going to have a little bit of fun on the show and see if it's really possible to balance everything in life, or is it more like chaotic? So we're going to bring on our guest this evening, Maria Barcelos. Welcome to Pray Love.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Maria and I met back in 2012 at the Gatehouse, where she's currently the executive director. We'll share a little bit about her journey as I see it. She sent me a very formal bio, and I'm going to put a little spin on it and hopefully do justice to all that she has accomplished. Like I said, she's currently the executive director at the Gatehouse. But when I first met her in 2012, she was working. Well, this is the opposite, right? She was working at the Gatehouse as an employee. This is what we do. We have so much fun when we get together. She was working as an employee at the Gatehouse and doing a fabulous job. And then she had an opportunity to go back to school. Brad Hutchinson, a mutual friend, came into the Gatehouse, and he was the executive director. They went back to school together. Justice Studies, I believe it was, that you went back. And meanwhile, what's going on behind the scenes, of course, is Maria has 2 kids. She's working full time. She's going back to school. She's coordinating so much around the Gatehouse, which I'll get to in a minute. And then because of health reasons, Brad had to step down, and Maria stepped in temporarily, but then she stepped into the role fully and wholeheartedly and took the reins at the Gatehouse. So this is managing staff, volunteers. It's coordinating like 20 summer students or part-time students or whatever. Sometimes the house is so incredibly full, but Maria's juggling all of that. They're doing grants. She's leaving the house. She's going to get the kids after school. She brings the kids back. They're moving. All of this is going on. And then after doing her BA in 2015, she goes back to school right at the end of it. I think he had 3 months off. She goes back. She does her master's, begins her master's degree at Yorkville out east University, doing that online. And then that's a master's of counseling, right? And she's winning like these honors degrees, like each time it's an honors in the VA and the honors in the master's, doing. And I see her at the Gatehouse. It's like, isn't it time to go home? Like groups are over and Maria's sitting at the computer typing 100 miles an hour to do assignment after assignment after assignment. While all that's going on, she's also volunteering. She's receiving awards like the Virginia Gray Medal for Academic Achievement. She volunteers in the community. There's just so many different things that she's doing. I could just continue on and on and on. And while all this is going on, again, she's managing 2 teenagers at home. They're often sitting at the gatehouse. She is now, same as me, she is a registered psychotherapist with CRPO, and her sister have started a business called, I don't know where I wrote it, Maria, where is it?
It's okay, I'll just say it's really long.
Psychotherapy and consulting service. And I'm going to actually just put this up here because I typed it really fast. Did I get it right?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
There we go. So introducing Maria Barcelos. Thank you so much for joining us on Pray Love.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. It's great to see both of you again, and I often see you both on Tuesday nights behind the scenes on Facebook commenting. I really love what the show has become and how many different voices get to come on this show and share their experiences. So I'm really grateful to be here, everyone. And yeah, feel free to post comments or questions as we're talking about different things along the way tonight. So I don't know if you have a specific question, Deb, or you want me just to start rambling, because I can.
No, I don't want you to start rambling. I'm going to ask
I can go off on many tangents.
I have a great question here that I want to start off with. Through all of this, now I've seen you when you're a little upset, but the majority of the time you have that smile on your face. That's another thing you did. You went back and you get the braces done, fix up the teeth. That's all going on. But you shaved your head recently. I'm like, okay, what's that about? And that's that humor and just doing it. So maybe share that as a crazy start.
That's hilarious. I actually got a call from someone in our community a couple of days after they had noticed on social media, like my appearance is a little different. They called me. They're like, or they texted me. They're like, I'm just doing a check-in. Are you all right? Is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, don't worry. It's not a Britney moment. And even if it was, it's awesome. You know, you got to do what you got to do. I love Britney Spears, and then, you know, I'm a big fan of her music and her work. Grew up with that, right? Yeah, no, it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And there was a huge emotional attachment to hair for me. I've been suffering with hair loss since I was 16. So as a female, like I know it's difficult for men, but for women, it's equally, if not more difficult at times because of the beauty standards that are imposed on women right from childhood onwards, you know, long, luscious locks and stuff. And I had that up until I was 16, then it started just falling out. So I was diagnosed with male pattern baldness. So they asked me, is there someone in your family who has this condition or has this predisposition genetically, especially in the women? I said, no, all the women have full luscious locks, some really nice wavy locks. And I got dealt this. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Like that's all I can do. I turned 40 last year, and there's something about turning 40, I think. And again, it was on my mind. So I did a side shave. I cut my own hair, like pandemic style, right? Like I can't deal with this constraint of not being able to go out and do my thing. So one of the things I did, I bobbed it first, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to do a side shave. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. Vicky, actually, who, if she's in the comments, thank you, Vicky, because you inspired me, and Karen Long as well, because Karen did her hair side shave too, and they look amazing. Actually, Vicky has both sides shaved nicely. And I always wanted to, but again, that thinness of the hair was a big thing for me. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to look okay. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. So I had to shed some of those emotional attachments to what my perceived notion of beauty standards were that were imposed upon me since childhood, right? So a couple of weeks ago, I just decided, it's just do it, whatever. I have a nice looking head. I know that. Like, it's Mark Messier. If you're into hockey, you know, like I compare my head to Mark Messier or Jean-Luc Picard. Like, you know, I can do that. I drink Earl Grey too. So
Messier had all the scars though.
No, but he had a nice shaped head. You gotta admit, Mark Messier's head is perfectly shaped to have no hair. It's amazing. I love it. I love it. When he played New York Rangers, I believe, I was like huge fan of him.
Yeah, the Oilers to the Rangers. An amazing leader, much the same as you've been. By the way, Vicky's there, and she's giving you the yes.
Right on, Vicky.
Yeah. Dave, do you want to jump in? Let's hear your voice. We haven't heard your voice yet.
I was gonna suggest we put hashtag Mark Messier. We love your head.
Let's do it.
Go ahead, do it.
Do it. Yeah, Messier inspired hair. No, I wanted to do this for a long time. So it just, I don't know, I just did it.
I really honor you for doing it. I think I mentioned it on another episode of Pray Love, where I was planning on doing it for my black belt grading. So that was in 2002, I think it was. And I always thought that it would be a time to do something like that, like to walk in and shock everybody like that. And two things happened. One is I was afraid that my helmet wouldn't fit properly, and then it would be spinning during the testing, which would not have been a good idea. The other thing, of course, is I just chickened out. That's the bottom line. I could have done it 2 weeks before, but I have a lot of respect for people to do things like that, like any type of, even when you just shave part of it. Like, I'm just kind of going like, would I? Oh gosh, if a group of people did it for some fundraiser, then I would do it. But just to do it,
okay, hold that thought, everyone. We need a group of people. She put it out there.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so I would do it. I ride in the Jack Ride at the end of May for mental health. I do that ride. So, put it out there. If we raise, $2,500, I'm not going to say 500. I'll say 2,500, or we raise $1,000 for the Jack Ride and $1,000 for Charmaine Lover in any way that she wants to use it in the battle against the ALS.
And everyone has to shave their head too if we raise that money. Is that the deal?
Well, I don't think you do that, because people wouldn't shave their head if they had to send in the money, but they may send the money in if they think, okay, not the whole thing. I just like a
side shave,
like a side shave. I will do a side shave if we raise $1,000 for the Jack Ride and $1,000 for Charmaine, however she wants to use that money. Maybe I know what it is. I was just proofreading part of a book that she's reading. So for the editing of her book, we raised $1,000. So we raised $1,000 for those two things. I'll do a side shave.
Okay. Game on.
Game on.
Okay, everyone in the comments, get ready. I'm going to create a peer-to-peer campaign. We're going to do this. We're going to do this.
Oh no, which side is it going to be? Because I know a side's going to go, Dave, please step in and save me. Are you going to do a side shave with me, Dave? We'll come on Pray Love.
Oh, yeah.
Well, actually, I was really curious from a perspective for Maria. Was there something else that maybe let go when you did it? Because actually, I have had the bold challenge to do it once, and so I went from long hair, kinky perm to Obosan look when I was in Japan. And no one recognized me in the campus. When it was really funny, I was sitting in the dining area. People just walked by me, and then all of a sudden, whoa, Nanjoga! It was a let go. It really was. I was just wondering, was there something that you also let go that you feel a little different?
That's a good question, Dave, and thank you for asking that. For me, no, because, and I think in part because I had already done it in stages. I had a side shave one side, then I did a full undercut, and then it was like, what is this? It just came out, right? Like
a little bit
I think it was less traumatizing in that way, like to get rid of it in one shot. So if I was going to do it like the way that you mentioned, and just, last year, if I was going to do that again and just shave it all off, I think I would have had that. I think I would have had a release. A lot of people do talk about like emotional release from that and cry and stuff. After I had finished shaving it, I was just like, okay, on with the next test. Let's go.
I'll probably be like in the mirror going,
what did I do? It was for a good cause.
Yeah. You know what? Vicky has already posted that she's going to do the shaving. So,
all right, Vicky. See, we already have hairdressers. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I know that she's been doing during this period of shutdown, but I know she also does dogs. So I'm wondering, oh my God.
It's great. I saw one of her videos. She knows what she's doing. She did it to herself, and it was well done. The fade was good.
Beautiful. Okay, Maria, so is it balance in your life or is it chaos? Because some people say, we've got to have balance in all these areas of our life. And I know for myself, it's never all balanced. it's like, well, these are still stable, but there's never this balance. It's always this movement, ebb and flow, like the waves come in and you get on a wave and you ride it. Like, so is it balance or is it chaos?
Yeah, it's a combination of the two, like you mentioned, Deb. For me, there are times where it does feel like balance, especially when we have, and I've mentioned this before in previous broadcasts, you have to have a support network, right? To do the things that I do, to do the things that you do. We all need a support network, first of all, because we're all social creatures. That's human beings need socialization to survive. So that is number one. It can feel quite chaotic at times, especially when there's new groups starting, there's programs starting, I have a course, or I have a training. Yeah, it's a mishmash. And especially being the director of a charity, and this charity specifically, there's no day where it's exactly the same, like you have a repetitive pattern. You can try and let me know how that works out, because that's been my experience, where I might be putting out a fire here, for example, maybe a conflict situation that's happened. I need to resolve it, leave everybody feeling good about themselves and move on and train and all that good stuff. Or I could be just doing a proposal and then I have to put together some marketing materials, and I'm switching from marketing to accounting. Like, it's just, it's not an easy job to do when you're working in the charitable sector, because there's a lot of tasks that can become like, how we have boundaries. When I did my placement, I'll give you an example. I did my placement at a local mental health center, and they have really great, when they have better funding than we do, because they're mental health and health center as well. So they have provincial government funding, city funding, probably federal funding as well. So they have a nice division of labor, division of tasks. Everyone has these more separated boundaries. So I felt when I was doing my work there, because I wasn't in that director role, I was the practicing psychotherapist in training role. I had the boundaries where, do you meet your clients, do the work, do the notes, and your day is over, do the supervision with your supervisor, and that's it. Right. Whereas at the Gatehouse, it's very different. It's you're going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Like today, I had 4 different meetings, and a couple of them were kind of related and the others are not. And then this show tonight, right? So it's about outreach and talking about not only myself, but the Gatehouse. I don't want to talk about me for 2 hours. Let's talk about
1 hour.
We do it 1 hour. Yeah, exactly. See, my mind's like, you can go on for 2 hours. No. Yeah, so it is a little chaotic and it can feel balanced. One of the things that I do to integrate some sort of balance in my life is I take at the very least, 1 minute per day. A lot of people talk about how to, they talk about self-care and they overcomplicate it. They think like you have to have a huge plan and you have to do 10 things in a day to feel good. And no, you need just one thing. If you can focus on one thing, you can slowly build on, if you need to for yourself, build on more things in your day to do self-care, to feel good, to feel balanced, right? Walk away from the computer, definitely take time away from the computer. We're all stuck on these machines, working on the computer because of the pandemonium. I call it pandemonium, pandemic, Corona coaster. I've called it all kinds of things. Right? This situation that we're in, we've all had to adjust and adapt and grieve the loss of the ability to physically move about our town, our city, wherever you are, and trying to find some sort of balance. Now the boundaries, those boundaries, not only were they skewed at work, now they can become skewed at home too, because work and life are now mishmashed into each other, right? So that's another thing to watch out for when we're talking about balance. I don't know anyone who is 100%, balanced. I got this figured out and I say no exactly here. Sometimes there are times where we get called back into a work thing, right? After 9:30, we have our debrief and something happens and it's 9:45 and I'm still on a call with a student, or I'm on a call with a facilitator or someone who's having a crisis. And then 10:30 max, I'm out of Gatehouse stuff and into some sort of relaxation, whether that be Netflix or doing my steps around the house or what, I don't know, something relaxing that has nothing to do with trauma. And I know we're almost at that time where you do that magical moment thing, which is
really, is it really?
Sorry, so 8:22. Is it at the 33?
33.
30. Oh, okay. All right.
33. Good. 33. And you you need to post that back again where that was,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I have it on the other screen.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Update. Dave, ask this this single mom of two beautiful teenage kids a question.
So, did I hear correctly? You said your strategy is to have at least 1 minute a day for yourself?
At least, yeah. That's it. The minimum goal is a small step. When we integrate small steps into our day, more than a few small steps as we build up, then we will have eventually good and bigger results. We do not have to stress ourselves. Self-care should not be stressful, people. It should not stress you out to plan your self-care routine, whatever that looks like for you, or to form a new habit. Self-care can be as easy as I'm going to have a bottle of water beside me at all times when I'm on the computer. There we go. I know Deb's got a cup of water. Dave, you got water beside you? If you don't, it's one of your, there we go. We're ahead of time here. We're ahead of the game here. So we start off with those small steps, like, and celebrating ourselves too is another one, which I posted on social media today. Like, there is nothing wrong with aiming high and shooting for the stars and overachieving. There's nothing wrong with that. There is something wrong when we do not acknowledge ourselves for the work that we've done, or acknowledge ourselves for our strengths, our capacity. So I invited people to acknowledge themselves today, and I had at least eight comments on that already. Most, I believe, they're all women who have commented. Yeah, Deb was one of them, right? We often don't do that. So that's self-care. Like, and it doesn't cost it. Does it cost you anything? Maybe a couple of seconds to think about and go, well, yeah, what am I going to acknowledge myself for today? And without feeling guilty over acknowledging yourself. That's the other thing about, work-life balance. Oftentimes we'll feel guilty about taking time back from work for ourselves when we've invested or given too much or too much of ourselves in a particular area of our life. It's hard to try and figure out what needs to shift at times, especially when we have poor boundaries around things, which I know is one of my things that I'm working on. It's a constant reminder to work on those boundaries around work and kids and family and career and whatever else that I want to do, right? Like, we opened a business, as you mentioned, Deb, and our business is Friday after our work hours, because Monday to Friday, our commitment is to the Gatehouse for 8 hours per day. And then after work on Fridays and Saturdays is our business time. And then Sundays are do nothing, watch Netflix, make cookies, whatever. It has nothing to do with anything. Sometimes I'll listen to podcasts. That's self-care. And yeah, you got to find what works for you, and don't overthink how much is good enough when it comes to self-care. Like I said, 1 minute. Does everyone have a minute? You can take 60 seconds to feel into how much of a good person you are, or feel into how much good you bring to the world, or feel into what you want to manifest in your life. Like, what kind of energy do you want to emulate out there? Because our thoughts are very powerful. They can manifest different results in our lives. It starts with a single thought, and we're having hundreds of millions of thoughts all the time.
I think you have 10 times more than the average person, and that's one reason why you accomplished a lot. Because I know Dave had another piece to that question. He was just starting what he was actually going to ask.
You got to rein me in, Dave.
No, actually, that was beautiful. I think that's really beautiful that you set your bar at 1 minute, and you're inviting everyone who's watching right now. If you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or a little stressed, 1 minute, and let's start with that baby step. And it's beautiful. I guess I did have that little add-on question was, in the world of social media, and you're doing that, it sounds like, in a very elegant and effective and productive manner too. Would you have some words of guidance for people with social media? Because I think what you probably experienced too is that some people are getting, whether it's an addiction or whether it's a trauma or some type of battle that's going on with social media. So what are some of your rules or guidelines for social media?
Thanks for asking that, Dave. Social media can be fun and it can be harmful. That's for sure. Harmful in the fact that, you could be doing something else. You could be spending time with your family. I know that my children certainly remind me it's interesting. They seem to notice when I'm on TikTok, they're like, Mom, what are you doing? Are you on TikTok again? You know, like that's their thing. Like, please don't. And I think it's because for sure they don't want their friends to like follow me or see any of the stuff I do and be, oh, that's John and Sarah's mom. You know, like kind of thing. They're kind of embarrassed. Teenagers don't want to acknowledge that in their parents. But on the dark side of social media, there's addiction for sure. When you become too involved in social media to the point where your physical and other needs are being neglected, that's a warning sign. When you're not getting enough sleep because of social media, warning sign. And I've been through those as well. Like I am guilty. I will admit I sometimes am on TikTok a little bit too much. I think the way that app was developed was for generating addictions. That whoever did the programming knows exactly how to psychologically influence people to be on it, like to want to, because of the rewards, like our brain and the reward center. I think that's what that app particularly is aimed at. The more you watch, the more you want to watch because it's fun. Like there's a lot of fun on there. There's a lot of information on there. And then the other side, there's a lot of also, like, for example, there's a lot of negativity on there, body shaming, racism. There are people who do put out messages. There's one lady who put on this message and everyone's like, they call it stitching, where they compile a response video to her. And she's talking about being polite to men who hit on you or whatever. And she's gotten so much negative feedback, and rightfully so, because her message really she negates the fact that there is like sexual assault, there is harassment, bullying, and all these kinds of things that happen to be perpetrated by men, but also women as well. Not ignoring that side either. But just to be careful with those kind of messages, because if you are like a survivor of sexual abuse and you're on social media and you might see something where someone is saying, you know, just get over it, right? And then now you're re-traumatized again by social media. So just to be aware of that, if there are those kinds of videos, to stop watching and talk to somebody if you are triggered by the messages that you're receiving on social media. So definitely, if you're negating your self-care, your needs, your physical, emotional, psychological needs because of social media, time to take a break. I know on iPhones, if anyone owns an iPhone, it'll tell you how much time you've spent on social media. There's this lovely tool that says, hey, we noticed that your social media usage is at 110%. Maybe it's time to take a break. No, mine was, I think, up 7% last week. So I'm like, okay, 7%. But if it told me I was up to 25% or something, I'd be like, okay, there's something up with that. Unless I'm working on a project that we're feeding into Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we're doing live feeds or something, I'm going to be on my phone and using my phone.
You know, and that's one of the things that you have done so effectively is all these different platforms, right? When, listen, you're fundraising all the time. I mean, you're doing so much balancing, and it's not just the Gatehouse. Like you support, what Stuart's doing, what Charmaine's doing, if I'm doing something, and Nicole, like, I mean, anybody who's doing something who's affiliated with the Gatehouse, even often, well, like I never asked you to show anything on the Gatehouse, but you really support the people that are involved with the Gatehouse, and like that is so appreciated. And that's one of the things that you do is you really connect with people, and you really honor what they are doing. And I just wonder, like, how do you, like, in your brain, or what's going on? Like, how do you manage so many things at the same time? Because there are so many. You're making those links from Facebook to TikTok to all over the place. You have to learn all that. Like, how do you manage that with everything else you're doing?
I just love learning. I don't know. My brain just works that way. And also I've been educating myself too on a condition called high functioning anxiety.
That's it.
Yeah, definitely. I identify with that. I've had panic attacks in the past as well. So, and I have had that experience happen. So, yeah, high functioning anxiety can present itself as like hyper productivity, Of course, you see me as mostly confident throughout my career, and I am. But also, yeah, mostly confident. There are times where I feel like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I've suffered with the imposter syndrome too. Like that is something that comes up. Like, who do I think I am to be doing this? Or I don't know what I'm doing. People are going to make fun of me. Like I have all these kinds of thoughts, and I know that as having an anxious brain, that it comes from that, and of course from childhood trauma. That's where all that developed, right? And I openly talk about that. But I think high functioning anxiety is what contributes to that. Oh, it's time for the magical moment.
It is the 33-minute magical moments. And how would you like to experience that this week there, Deb?
Yeah, so the plan is, Maria, do you have that? We're going to show a video here. If Maria, you've got it up. There it is. It's coming into the stream. I'm just going to do this really quickly. So we have no
Was there no audio?
There's no audio on it, so lessons.
Oh man,
Impact, but it doesn't change the question. It doesn't change the question. This was this was on.
It was on TikTok. Yeah, there's a lot of fun videos and audio files that you can use on TikTok, and that one just says it's asking your Alexa to turn off your emotions. That's what the audio is saying. It's not my voice; it's someone else's voice on that app. But that's kind of one of the premises of TikTok is you use other people's voices. Like Kim Kardashian, for example, there's one about she's talking about how difficult her job is, and I want to use that to talk about being a director of a charity, right?
Okay, so the magic moment. So the question is,
Alexa, turn off my emotions.
No. With everything going on,
answering me
in this type of environment, and this is everything. This is just not COVID. I mean, just with everything going on in your life, that level of playfulness and fun. Like we laugh sometimes. It's a so serious environment, and yet we're. After participants have laughed, we're just sitting there, we're laughing. And where does that come from? What's the magic behind the laughter and the humor?
Yeah, definitely trauma processing. Definitely, it's just how we respond. Not that we're laughing at anyone. We mostly laugh at ourselves, like make fun of ourselves or just to lighten the mood. Share a joke that we might have heard that day, or share a news story and laugh at whatever is funny about it. But humor is a great way to process as well. Like to use humor to also help you. Especially if you work in the field of trauma. This is why I watch comedic movies. I love Jim Carrey, for example. Grew up watching all his stuff, right from when he was in Living Color as Fire Marshal Bill. Love that. Pure raunchy comedy, whatever. But it helps to divert the brain away from feeling, helpless, hopeless, full of shame, that kind of thing. So it helps us process or feel safe. That's why a lot of people use humor actually to deflect. It can also be used to deflect pain, right? So just be aware of that. If you're using it all the time and you're not actually talking to somebody or doing the trauma processing work, then it can be unhelpful to use humor. But for me, using like TikTok or social media to post jokes or basically make fun of myself keeps me humble. I want to stay humble and practice humility. That's for sure. That's part of my value system. Like I know I'm not, an all-knowing being and all that, or superior to anybody. I am just like you and just like Dave and vice versa. We're all human beings, right? So I want to come at it from that point of view. I can make fun of myself, and I think that's a lot of fun when you can do that and be like, let it go. If people make fun of it, great, whatever.
Exactly. Dave, your 33rd magic moment. You and humor.
I can't believe how much I want to echo what was just shared, because the mantra of find the humor in it is something that I just so believe in. And it's really from inside that find the humor. And if I can make myself laugh, oh, what a beautiful gift. And then sharing that. I salute the bravery to go on to the TikTok and take it to a whole new level of playfulness. And you've got other motivators with the kids and that, which is great because it's almost like a love to the kids too. It's you're showing them that you're being a great example, role model of the theme of today for me right now is fun and playfulness, and infused humor is probably one of the greatest things that I've taught myself in the last 2 or 3 years. And it truly is a blessing to practice humor. And so thank you. And Deb.
Cool. Mine really short is, I grew up pretty straight and didn't have I have fun like at each stage, but not like really laugh, like really that bust out laughing was not as often as it should have been given, just the situation. But one of the things that I treasure so much is finding the lighter side of things. Just this, it's almost as powerful as finding the gift in the difficult, and challenging situations that we have in life. And, I keep mentioning recently I've reconnected with a friend that we hadn't seen each other for 40 years. And just in the text and funny, and she sent me a couple of things and I just laughed so much. I wish I'd had it prepared. I would have showed it, just a couple of things that she just sent, and it just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. But, I think that is something that I grew into around 2010 and just started to laugh more. And it's something that I work with the clients too. Not right away, right? But when you can, that's that song that I wrote about the gatehouse, Maria, right? Like, in a serious environment is that you hear laughing down the halls, and people get to a point where they can laugh together, not at something or whatever, but just laugh together. And it's just such a release of energy and tension. It activates a different part of the brain. You just feel differently. It's an incredible tool to use to shift energy out of difficult times. So that's our 30 for Magical Moment. Dave, I'll send it to you for the next question to Maria. I think it's your turn.
I guess when I noticed that you were going to be joining us today, I did want to bring in the kids and the way that you've been dancing with their situation. Again, today, the Toronto board shut down again. And what has been perhaps a hiccup or challenge that you've been able to weave and bob and bring in your methods and love and expressions and assist them in their journey, and perhaps share a little bit about the journey of the teens these days.
For sure. Like, I can definitely comment on, my kids' journey with this whole learn from home situation, because they're not in in-person school. They haven't been since the beginning of the year in September. We do have people in the home who are immunocompromised, and we made that decision as a family. I knew it was going to be difficult for them because they didn't get to socialize with their friends in person, so it all transitioned to online. The cool thing that happened was they're in the Catholic school board, so they opened a new online school. They didn't have that before, and my kids met new people. They met new friends, made new friends. They started sending each other even like little cards and things in the mail to these new friends, and like they sent birthday cards, just notes of encouragement to one another, which is really cool. It's like pen pals, right? Like I grew up with pen pals. We had to actually do that when we were kids to schools in the States. One of our schools did that whole exchange pen pal with kids in the US that we didn't even know. And we wrote and we sent, actually we made a time capsule. Look how old I am. And buried it at our school to open. I don't know if they've ever opened it, but yeah, that'd be interesting to actually see that.
It'd be coming pretty close to opening it, right?
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if it's still there. That's hilarious. So yeah, definitely, it's been hard with kids trying to adapt to online learning. For adults, like for me, it was easy because I had been online for more than 2 years with school, so I already knew Zoom. I already knew what to do. And I made an assumption like, oh, you're just going to transition onto Zoom or Google Classroom and it'll be fine. We'll work through it. Initially it was good. Like the energy was there, but then it's just like, I don't want to go to this online class. This is so weird. All you see is circles on the screen. The kids don't show their face. So it's all, they don't even see each other, right? It's not required. And I think it's because of privacy, right? Because the board, I think, made a decision on that. So sometimes we see the teacher and sometimes we don't. Like I've seen, I walked into my daughter's room and she said, hello, how are you? How's your day going? Kind of thing. How are you in class? Everything's good. because to get teenagers out of bed, like it was hard before to get them out of bed, but it's harder now, interestingly enough, that their computer is their school. Like they literally have to take 3 steps to get to school. But it's harder to get up from bed and go be like, I'm motivated to do this, because teenagers need that. They need the socialization, the interaction, and it's just a very sad and unfair situation that the kids these days have been placed into. And now with some of the schools, are they closing again?
Today, they announced
Yeah.
Toronto's closing today. Yeah.
All Toronto schools are going to be closed. Yeah, that's not going to be fun. I mean, their parents need a break too, and they need their kids to go to school because in the school, the kids are getting socialized, they're getting an education, and the parents are getting a break as well. Like, because also, like I said, competing priorities, school and work and home are now all in one then, right? So it becomes harder to find balance. You know what? If you don't have balance, that's okay. If your home is chaotic right now, that's okay. It's the situation that we are all in. It is what it is, and we have to adapt to it. And also, I think this comes up a lot for parents who have 2 and 3 kids at home, or even 1 child, but 2 and 3 kids becomes a lot more difficult, especially different ages, different needs. Maybe they're arguing with each other or fighting or whatever, and the parents are trying to manage all that and trying to work or go to school all in the same household. Those 1 minute of self-care becomes even more important for people to do, including the children as well, like teaching your kids meditation and self-regulation tactics. Tapping is another one that we've used. Exactly. If all the kids, if kids and parents learn tapping or something, meditation, yoga, stretching, going for walks together, but actually integrating like a family time for that to happen, and also parents leading by example, doing that, what you expect from your children, you ought to be doing yourself as well. We can't tell our kids to, work on if they're upset about something and they're rude to us, we better emulate that behavior, because they're going to be like, why are you telling me to do that when you don't do that, right? So emulate the behavior that you want your kid to portray.
Exactly. Thank you for that. So I have a question. So, in my 50s, I went back to school. I think you were in your mid-30s when you started with the BA, and then graduating in 2020 with the master's. So, how often do we hear, I don't really like my job or my career, or I wish I had another this or that, but I'm too old. And what was your decision to go back to school? How did that happen? And also because you want to get to the next level too, don't you?
I do, and I made a choice at this point to take a break from that and pay off some school debt, which I'm almost done. So to go back to school. So I had put off going back to school for 13 years at that point. Again, competing priorities, children, family, and then separation divorce happened. And I was at a gatehouse. I truly believe the universe sends us what we need when we need to see it and experience it. So I'm at the gatehouse. I remember it like it was yesterday. And Brad had this flyer just literally come to his desk from the mail, whatever. And it was from the University of Guelph Humber. And they're saying, he goes, oh, look at this. I got this flyer. I'm thinking of applying for this. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. I can actually qualify for that. You can get your BA instead of doing it in 4 years. You can do it in 2.5, provided you have experience in criminal justice or restorative justice, which I did, which was 3 years at that point. And you have a college diploma in any field. So I was like, cool. So the right opportunity came at the right time by this magical moment. I was like, what's this flyer? And Brad showed it. I was like, oh. So we both applied. We both got in. We went to 2 classes together, and that was a lot of fun because I work with Brad, and then I get to see Brad on the weekends, and we're doing work in class and laughing with our colleagues, a lot of them were police officers. It was a lot of fun. I love that program, and I highly recommend that program. It's the University of Guelph Humber Justice Studies. If you have a diploma in any like a college diploma already, you can get that your degree done sooner. But here's the caveat, people: lots of studying, lots of writing. It's not easy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say it's, oh yeah, super easy. You can get it done fast. You can get it done fast. Yes. You'll have to invest your time into your studies. I think I attended in 2.5 years, one party that I threw, and that was it. There was no partying, even though we had a couple of parties on campus and stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. No, my focus was on getting my studying done. It's 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks we would switch courses. So you got 6 weeks in a course and you're switching. And 2.5 years later, it's done.
And then your sister,
she was doing her master's at the same time. Okay, so I was in the BA program. She was in the master's program. She entered her master's in May, and I entered the BA in September of the same year in 2014.
Yeah, and Paul and I had applied to the same program that ultimately both of you guys did. I was accepted and I was going to go in that, and then I just went into it, different stream. I wanted that spiritual component of the psychotherapy, right? But I was at school the same time as Paul. I remember that we're all, and then you jump in.
Oh, we had spiritual components, Deb, in our master's program. They're called breakdowns. Yeah. We had spiritual components.
Yes, Brene.
We had a few cries, that's for sure. When a lot of, as you know, being in university, there's a lot of writing, a lot of studying and researching, like a lot of research. You have to definitely agree to let go of some aspect of your life. Like if socializing and hanging out with your friends every weekend was important to you, you're going to have to let go of that expectation that you're going to get to do that every weekend, because you're not. If your other priority is, I have to get a 70 or 75 in this course in order to pass, some of them had a requirement like that. I know in the master's program, you had to get at least 70 in your courses to pass. So it's very difficult at times to do that. So yeah, it comes down to planning, priority. What do you value and what do you want to do? Are you willing to make these sacrifices for 2.5 years of your life? The answer is yes. And you have a support system in place, because those spiritual awakenings that happen in the master's program, you're going to need someone to be like, okay, I know I had a spiritual awakening. I think in the BA program too. We're calling it that because that's fun. That sounds much better than a breakdown, but it is. It's a breakdown of like how much stress and difficult it is to do all this stuff and try and achieve whatever it is that success means to you. Because at the time I thought I need for me to get always these high grades and stuff. And toward the end of it, I was like, whatever I get is whatever I get as long as I pass. One of my clients told me something that I'll never forget. They said, Maria, C's get degrees. I'm like, and at first I was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't even know what a C is. I get A's and maybe a B plus if I'm really desperate. Like, that's how low I'll go, right? But they were like, no, C's get degrees and we still get the title and we still get to do the work and we're still good at the work, right? It's not about the grades. I'm like, you know what? That's absolutely true. I didn't get any C's, but it took the pressure off. It took that self-pressure that I had on myself. Again, anxious brain, right? Must accomplish, must overachieve, must get the A pluses all the time. Yeah. When you get 100 on something, there's not much more that you can get than 100. Like I got 100 in one of the presentations in the master's program, and I was like, we're cool. Our group it was 3 of us, and the teacher comes back with 100%. I'm like, no way, we got perfect? That's amazing. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, exactly. Go on next. That's the way Maria is, right? Chop, chop, next.
It's like,
next.
No, I have to slow down and go, holy poop, that's amazing. Like, I don't know, a lot of people get 100 on a friggin' master's presentation. I really don't.
It's to be celebrated. Dave, you got a question in there? You got to cut in, man.
My question would be, again, I think I'm going to pick up this one because Deb's saying 50 going back to school and you're saying continual education. What's happening with ageism and people coming back into the workforce at 50, 60, 70? Is that something you're seeing more of? Is it something that you're welcoming? What's your general feel of that situation?
I think any of those isms are heavily present in our society. That's for sure, Dave. People are obviously not going to admit that they're ageist, for example, or ableist or racist, because there's a fear around, being judged or losing their job or being stigmatized or whatever. It's not socially acceptable to do that, obviously blatantly and rightfully so. So no one's ever going to come forward and say, we're not going to hire you because you're 75. Does that happen? Hell yes, it does. but in terms of going back to school, more and more people are going back to school, and it's not. I remember it's not, I think, as stigmatized as it was 20 years ago when I went to. I remember when I went to college, there was one person in our course. I took an HR management diploma, and he was 65 at the time. So for him to go back to school at 65 in 1999 was a big deal, and he had a different ability. And we're in class. I was 19, and I was like, "Wow, that's so cool!" That at the time, this person's 65 and they're coming in to do an HR management diploma. This is so cool. We also had a couple of 40-year-olds in the class at the time. In this course that I did at Guelph Humber, the BA in Justice Studies, most of us were in our 40 pluses at the time. I think I was the second youngest. There was one other guy who was 4 years younger than me. He was the baby of the degree, because most of us were working professionals, right? So it was tailored to and geared for people who were returning or changing careers or getting their BA after, getting 40 or 50 years of experience in work and then coming back to school. We had a couple of people who were near retirement and just doing the degree as a check mark. I've wanted to do this for a long time, and I'm going to get it done. I don't need a promotion. I'm already the head of some police department. I just want to do this for myself. So, that's pretty cool. Even the chief of police, or the previous chief of police, had graduated the year before, 2 years before we went into our program from the same degree program. So Mark Saunders was in that program 2 years before us, just getting his degree. Yeah,
that's super.
You can do it, people. Like it's no longer, I think, a limiting in terms of going back to school. And I can't speak for all employees. Of course, people should not be ageist, should not be racist, should not be any of those things. But it does happen in society, and people are being limited by those different isms.
Yeah, sure. In the program that I took, I don't think there was anybody in the class that was like their initial career. It was a second career. It was a shift for most people. And there were a number of people like over 35, like, hell yeah, there were a lot of people in that category. I'm actually looking forward to getting 60, because I know that, well, as long as it is still in existence, I can go back and get a master's degree for free. And I just have to wait a couple more years so I can get really established in what I'm doing. And I'm really moving towards specialization. Like, there's something I'm really, really super interested in, like to do some research in that. So, I'm kind of looking forward to that next step, but it'll be a couple of years, and we'll see what happens out there in the world. Maria, we're getting near the end of the time, and I always want to allow a couple of minutes for people to share anything maybe that you came in wanting to talk about, this balanced, chaotic life, achievements, anything that you'd like to share at the end of the show. The stage is yours.
Yeah, every day is a new opportunity. If you failed yesterday, you still have an opportunity. Every time we wake up and open our eyes and take a breath, and we can breathe, for example, freely without having our lungs kind of tighten up on us, or we don't have pneumonia or any of those things, then every day is a new gift for you. So what are you going to do with this beautiful new gift every day that you get to wake up to? What are you going to create in your life is a question that I often ask people, and I ask myself, like, today I actually took ownership over a boundary that I had, and I was like, you know what, actually I am going to do that, and thank you very much, right? Like, I would have normally said no to this kind of situation, and it's a good situation to say yes to, but there's sometimes the shame of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that, maybe it sounds a little selfish or whatever. It's like, no, these are limiting beliefs that have operated for 40 years in my life. You asked me this the other day too, Deb, like, how do you feel about people like maybe seeing that on TikTok or maybe judging that kind of stuff? And I'm like, I don't give a bleep the blah, 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 what they think. Like, what I think is what matters in my life. What you think about yourself is what matters. And if it's not helpful, if it's not serving you to move you forward into creating the life that you want to live, then maybe it's time to reach out to someone like Deb or someone like Dave or someone like me, or a coach, a life coach, someone that you trust to give you another perspective on all the strengths and capacities and qualities that you have that you don't acknowledge about yourself. Please, people, acknowledge yourselves, and you're okay with acknowledgement. It's okay to say, I'm smart, I'm pretty, I'm whatever, fill it in the blank.
Or I'm afraid and I'm going to do it anyways, you know?
Exactly. I'm afraid.
Like
Exactly.
the narrative in our brain, you know, don't do that, you can't do that, what will people think? It's like, if you know, if I know all of us, the three, if we believe that or follow that, you know, that narrative that's echoing back there at different times in our life, we would never have accomplished the things that we have done. We wouldn't have had the experiences. We wouldn't have met the people. You know, if you don't take chances, you don't grow, you don't learn. And so what if fubble up words here, or who cares, the hair's out of place, like whatever. Like I find that I learn so much by having people like you, Maria, on the show, and with Dave and all the guests. It's just so much fun to just learn. So that would be my final word, is just I encourage people to learn and follow your heart, and whatever it is, you know, that you love to do, is to just engage and do it wholeheartedly.
I'm curious about, what does Maria plan to study next, or what is in the plans moving forward? Because I have a feeling there's a few things, and I think it might be very inspiring for people to hear. What are some of your learning plans?
On the fun side, I really need to figure out how to use TikTok properly, because I'm such a novice newbie at that, and I'm fumbling with the buttons and the things. I don't know. I'm doing whatever I can over there. I need to figure that out. I'm trying to make transitions look cool. I can see all these people do that, so that's fun. I know how to cook, so I'm not learning too much about that, unless it's some other type of cooking. Baking for sure is something I'd learn to do a little bit more, and accept that sometimes it's going to fail, and whatever it is, it is. In terms of post-secondary education, I do have a goal to go back and obtain my doctorate degree in either counseling psychology or psychology. But at this point, it could even be a doctorate in philosophy. I have no idea. Like, I do want to get a doctorate. I like the title of doctor, right? Like, I don't know. It's
Dr. Maria sounds good to me.
Maria, just call her. No, I don't know. Some people actually think I already am some sort of psychologist or whatever, just because of the way I speak and stuff. And also, I wanted to tell people, if English isn't your first language, it wasn't my first language either. I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 8 years old. We grew up in a poor household, marginalized communities. All that background is there, and don't ever let that stop you from achieving what you want to achieve in this life. Our life is limited. We are here for a very short time. I know, like 87 years maybe is a long time. That's my goal. I want to live till 87. I don't know why 87. It just came to mind. My grandmother lived till 89, so I'm thinking, yeah, around there, 87, 92, something like that. But have fun too in life. Don't take it too seriously all the time either, because that can lead to a whole bunch of issues as well.
Right.
Laugh at yourself.
Thank you so much for those final words, and thank you for coming on the show again. I really enjoyed talking with you and listening to you on this topic. And Mr. Rogers, thank you so much, and thanks for everybody who is watching Pray Love, and we'll see you next time. I'll see you in the studio.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Love is all